Hello, this is Adrian at Insomnia Records, and today I am here to discuss the upcoming Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion Collection sale, which lasts the entire month of November. Now, as I'm making this video, the sale has not started yet, and it hasn't even been announced when it's going to start. I'm kind of thinking that from my insider little information that I have, it's going to start in about a week and a half. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, in the meantime, I have 10 selections from my own Criterion Collection to discuss that I think are great entry points into the collection if you are not yet a cult member in the ways of Criterion. And if you are a Criterion Collection nerd like me, you probably have all these, or you're probably missing some, or whatever the case. Not everyone has everything. For example, like I don't have the Seven Samurai yet, and anytime I see a video of anyone showing off their Criterion Collection, that is a staple. That is always there. So I'm going to make it a point this time to get one. You know what happens. It's like, oh, I'm going to get that. And then you see all like the newer titles or ones that are like little gap fillers. Like, you know what? I'm going to pick that up instead. But this time I am determined to pick up Seven Samurai. But I'm digressing. The following 10 titles are what I feel are fantastic movies. In a week, I could pick 10 other ones that would be fantastic also. That's one of the great things about the Criterion Collection. They really know how to curate the best films from every era, every genre, and that's why they're the original boutique label and the one that'll probably be, still standing after the smoke clears and all the other ones have fallen by the wayside. Let's hope not. There's lots of great boutique labels out there that are doing great things. However, and I've tried all of them. I have, stuff from all different types of boutique labels. But I do not blind buy stuff on any other boutique label. But Criterion, I will blind buy, and I'm 9.5 times out of 10, I am really stoked with what I got. And that's how great they are at doing their brand, at curating fantastic films. And let me just get into it, okay? Now, my first selection out of 10, and these are in no particular order of greatness or anything like that. These are all great in their own way. Now, the first one is a Martin Scorsese film, and it's very unlike any other Martin Scorsese film. This is not a gangster film. This is not a period piece. This is not a serious movie. This is actually one of his earlier films, and it's actually a comedy, a dark comedy. And it's amazing, and everyone, I recommend this to everybody. This is a great, great movie. And I am talking about After Hours, which came out in 1985. It stars Griffin Dunne, Rosanna Arquette, John Hurd, Terry Garr, Catherine O'Hara. There's even cameos by Cheech and Chong in this movie. Okay, this movie is set in mid-'80s Soho, New York. And when you have a movie that's set in New York, New York also becomes kind of like a character in the movie because New York is just such a fantastic city, especially in this era. Okay, so it's a feast for the eyes, feast for the senses. It's a great movie. Basically, what it is this guy has a very humdrum existence. He's a computer programmer or like a word processor or something like that, and then he, you could just tell that he has this slave wage drone existence. He gets out of work. He goes to some like little corner coffee shop, and he's just drinking his coffee and reading, I think, Tropic of Cancer by Henry Miller. And Rosanna Arquette hits him up and is like, oh, I love that book. And they start talking a little bit about the book, and she gives him her number, and then that's it. So they cut to him going back to his apartment and calls her up immediately, desperately longing for some type of connection or some type of hookup or something to take him out of this mundane life that he lives. And I'm not going to get into any more. I don't do spoilers. That's just a setup. What follows that phone call is the most hilarious, anxiety-inducing craziness. That one of the best examples of that I've ever seen in a movie. And I can't tell you any more about it. All I can tell you is see this movie. It'll make you laugh. It'll put you on the edge of your seat. There's nothing really quite like this movie. It's fantastic. After Hours by Martin Scorsese. That's my first pick. Now, the next one is a movie that came out in 2023, and it's made by Wim Wenders, and it's called Perfect Days. And it basically is what's considered slow cinema. And what that is it's not for everybody. This type of movie is not for everybody. It deals with the life of a Japanese man who is a toilet cleaner, and it takes you through his day-to-day existence, which is a pretty set routine, and it goes and it just it's almost like Groundhog Day, and it keeps showing you the routine of his life. However, interspersed with that are different things that take him out of that, and things that he does which are kind of like almost like Zen meditations on noticing the beauty in things that most people do not notice because they're too in a hurry with their own life, or too busy looking in the past or looking towards the future, and don't notice the simplicity and beauty of everyday life. Now, and that's what this movie pretty much has to do with. A Japanese toilet cleaner who has a very Zen existence, even though he just lives a shadowy existence unnoticed by the masses. That's all I'll say about this. This is a very special movie. And maybe my description of it doesn't really do it justice, but if you're into slow cinema, you're into any of the things that I said appeal to you, please check this movie out. Just the fact that Wim Wenders did it should be enough of a seal of approval. Okay, so check that out. My next one is a movie that has been a favorite of mine for many, many, many years, since I was a teenager when I first saw it. And it was my first introduction to David Lynch, and it's 1977's Eraserhead. And I made a video recently about movie soundtracks for Halloween and scary movie soundtracks, and this was the soundtrack to this was featured in that video as well. So it's so hard to talk about this movie because it's indescribable. The way that I can describe it to people, and when I usually try to talk to people about this that haven't seen it, it's like, imagine if you had a dream, or some kind of like a weird fever dream, and someone was able to film that dream and turn it into a motion picture. That is the closest approximation of the style and aesthetic of this film. I think, and it's very symbolic, as all David Lynch movies are. And from what I can gather, and I'm not really sure what the movie is about, but from what I can gather, it has a lot to do with the fears and terror of parenthood and the responsibilities that come with that. So I can't really go much further other than to say, like, visually, it's really disturbing and engaging and beautiful, and it's unlike anything you have ever seen. It's unlike anything you will ever see. This movie is a beautiful piece of dark art, and it exists in some kind of like dreamlike dimension. So if you dare venture into those territories, look no further than David Lynch's Eraserhead. Now, my next one is a movie that I just saw recently. Even though a lot of people have been singing its praises for a very long time, I'm kind of late to the party on this one. But it's 1940's His Girl Friday, starring Cary Grant. And I recently got on a whole Cary Grant thing where I'm watching a lot of his movies and realizing how brilliant he was, and how funny he was, and how great he was at dialogue, and what a great overall style he had. Now, this movie is a masterclass in dialogue, a masterclass in just, the movie is pretty much just driven by dialogue. The story of the movie is great too, and the all the performances are great. Everything is solid in this movie. And I love movies from this era, the 1940s. But usually when I start watching movies from the 1940s, they're usually noir movies. This is not a noir film. This is just I guess you could call it a screwball comedy. This movie is great, and it's driven just by the dialogue and how masterfully it's executed. And you could tell this is not like heavily edited to make the dialogue like, okay, we'll do another take to make sure the dialogue is right. This is all like long takes. You could just tell how talented these people were and the timing that they had to pull this off. It was based on a stage play, which which is easy to see why after watching the movie. And in the extras, I think the stage play is included in the extras of this film. Just like Criterion, they're like the best with extras. So 1940, His Girl Friday by Howard Hawks. And if you haven't seen a lot of Cary Grant stuff, this would be a great entry level into the world of Cary Grant films. Okay, so check it out. Now, going back to New York City, going back to the movies that make New York City, just the fact that it's set in New York City, give it an electrifying presence already, just built in, just because New York City is such an electrifying place, and especially in the times that these movies were made. This one was made in 1969, and it was directed by John Schlesinger. And of course, I'm talking about the iconic, amazing, and incredibly sad Midnight Cowboy. Jon Voight and Dustin Hoffman just kill it in this movie. This movie will break your heart. This movie will just make you see life in a different way. Because, the Jon Voight starts off as this like small town guy with like dreams of being a big time hustler in the big city, and he has all these unresolved traumas in his life that come back to haunt him time and time again. And then he meets up with Dustin Hoffman's Ratso Rizzo character, who's a kind of like a failed hustler in his own right, and they just kind of navigate through the cold, harsh winter of New York City, just trying to find some way to make it. And this movie is, like I said, it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, it's sad, it's electrifying, it's so many things. You have to see this. Midnight Cowboy. Now, taking a break from New York, and now we're taking it from New York to Los Angeles in the year 1984, which was, a very prophetic year indeed. And this movie is a perfect example of LA and its punk culture, especially in 1984. This was made at the height of that. And this movie is Repo Man, directed by Alex Cox. And if nothing else, you should get this just for the packaging alone. I'm not going to open this up and show you the packaging because I would ruin the surprise. But the way that the packaging and the artwork alone in this is done is worth the price of admission alone. It is really masterfully done, and it's a fantastic example of how great their art is, and like their attention to detail with kind of like repackaging these movies for a new audience. The colors, everything is just beautiful, and I'm just talking about the artwork so far and the packaging. The movie itself is amazing. It's kind of like a low budget punk rock movie about like a down and out punk rocker played by Emilio Estevez. And he just by fate comes into contact with Harry Dean Stanton, who was a repo man. And Harry Dean Stanton was able to rope him in for one repo job, and then the rest is history. And they spend the rest of the movie chasing a very special car with a very special contents in the trunk. Now, I'm not going to go into any details about this because to go into the details would kind of give it away. This is an amazing movie, has a great soundtrack. Actually, the soundtrack of it alone was enough to make it onto home video because I think it did so poorly in the theaters that they were just kind of like waffling back and forth if they should even release this. And I think on the strength of the sales of the soundtrack alone, they decided to put it on VHS, and that it lived on. From there, I still have my VHS copy of Repo Man. But yeah, check it out. 1984, fantastic punk rock movie, probably one of the best punk rock movies by Alex Cox, who also did Sid and Nancy, another really good punk rock movie, but that's a whole other video. Now, the next one actually influenced Repo Man. Okay, it was an influence on a direct influence on Repo Man, and it was a great noir movie. Even though it was kind of like an oddball noir movie, it was not your usual like detective story or femme fatale story. It was a little bit off, like a little bit left field, but fantastic. And I'm talking about Robert Aldrich's 1955 Kiss Me Deadly. This movie was also a direct influence on Pulp Fiction. So if you wanted to do an amazing triple feature, you watch, Kiss Me Deadly, Repo Man, and Pulp Fiction, and you'll see the common connecting threads of these movies. I'm not going to go into a lot of details. This is a noir movie. They usually have very simple plots. I'm just giving you an overall just kind of recommendation. If you like oddball cinema, if you like noir films and something that's a little different, check this out. You will not be disappointed. Now, speaking of oddball left field movies, do I have one for you? Oh my God. This one, I saw this and it was like such a brain melting movie. It was so wonderful. It's a feast for the senses, visually amazing, so imaginative and captivating and funny, and only a Japanese. This could only come out of the mind of a Japanese person. Such a great film, and I'm talking about 1977's Hausu by Nobuhiko Obayashi, and it basically deals with. It's a story of 5 schoolgirls whose summer plans get canceled and derailed, and they end up in the aunt's house of one of the girls. And unbeknownst to them, the house is haunted and actually eats people. Actually consumes the house itself. Goes about systematically killing people and consuming them, but only under certain circumstances. So I think I've already said too much, but this movie visually is unbelievable. And in 1977, they had such a limited palette, a limited scope for special effects. This guy really pushed the boundaries of what you could do. Incredibly imaginative, incredibly well done. This movie is sick. You need to see this. If you like any of the stuff I'm telling you, if you like oddball horror movies, if you like Japanese movies, watch this movie, Hausu. Unreal. Okay, so now we're taking from that territory, we're now going into more of an Italian neorealism bent. This movie is also a kind of like a slice of life of that time period, and it's a movie that will pretty much break your heart, but in a great way. It kind of just gives you like. It just gives it to you straight. Like, this is life. Doesn't wrap up perfectly at the end and everyone lives happily ever after. This is just like real life. And I'm talking about Vittorio De Sica's masterpiece, Bicycle Thieves, which came out in 1948. I remember seeing this film for the first time with my dad a long time ago. When I wasn't really into movies the way I am now, I just kind of liked whatever mainstream movies were around, or just a bunch of horror movies or cult movies. And I wasn't aware of this type of cinema. I sat down to watch this with my dad, and by the end of it, I was like kind of holding back tears. I was kind of holding back my feelings because this movie took me by surprise as to how real it was, and how real the characters were, and how you feel for them. Your heart breaks for them, and you really, you're rooting for them the whole time, because it's like, come on, man, you could do it. Like, I know, the odds are stacked against you, and you're really in a really tough situation, but you could do it, and. It gives you that feeling, it captures you in that way. And that's the magic of cinema, the way that it just like a flickers on the screen can just capture your imagination, capture your heart, and you become a participant in it. And this movie is a perfect example of a movie that will take you by surprise in that way, and take hold of your emotions and your sensibilities. And it makes you look at life in a different way, because, based on when it was made, compared to now, there are parallels that are all-encompassing in every era. And this movie is a great example of that. So I cannot recommend this one enough. Bicycle Thieves. Now, the last movie I chose is a documentary. And so, I've gone over like a bunch of the different genres that are a part of the Criterion Collection, and I would be amiss if I didn't give an introductory list of like recommendations without including a documentary. And there are many documentaries in the Criterion Collection that are worth your time. This one in particular, I really, really enjoy, and it's incredibly rewatchable. Even though you already know the whole thing, and a lot of movies are like that. A lot of documentaries are like that. It's like, okay, I got the information, I saw it. I don't really feel the need to see it again. But this one is incredibly rewatchable. It has so much in it. It's very interesting. It's fascinating. All the people in it are fascinating. It's a bit disturbing and hilarious, and a feast for the senses because of all the incredible artwork contained within. And I'm talking about Crumb, the documentary by Terry Zwigoff. And this one came out in 1995. And it was produced by David Lynch. And it just follows the life and times of Robert Crumb, who was obviously, if you don't know who Robert Crumb was, he was a iconic, legendary comic artist in the 60s when all these underground comics came to light, like Zap Comics and Weird Comics and all these. He was in the forefront of all those artists just based on his talent and his twisted mind. And he wasn't even a hippie. He was just like the guy you see right here, this old-timey looking dude. He was always this guy. He remains this guy. This guy is just him through and through. He knows who he is. He doesn't deviate from that. He looks at life through the lens of that, and his view on modern society is fascinating and right on point. And his comics and his drawings all are a reflection of how he feels about modern society. It is unbelievably interesting. His family members that are featured in it are also unforgettable and tragic and hilarious all at the same time. And so I can't recommend this one enough either. I can't recommend all of these enough. These are all highly, highly recommended. And that's pretty much it. So save your pennies. The Criterion sale will start probably in about a week and a half, where all these flicks will be about $20. They're all incredible purchases. Feel free to get at me in the comments about your thoughts on these films or other recommendations that you might you think I might have missed out on. I mean, hey, like I said, I can make another video of this tomorrow or next week, and it'll have another 10 bangers. These are just off the top of my head. I just looked at my collection, like boom, 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 here we go. And, that's what's great about the Criterion Collection. It just keeps on giving. It's just full of these incredible movies. If you don't believe me, look on YouTube of any of the Criterion Closet videos of all the high-profile people and legendary people that are in there, and they're in awe. They're humbled by being surrounded by so much great film. So I will leave you with that. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I'll see you again soon with another video of my unedited ramblings. Have a great day. Catch you later.